Hey kids, it's X-Ray Vision from Quattro Cinco Studios in the studio with some puppies. I can't get this puppy loose to show you guys. All right, so this right here, right now, he is known as Tank. Right here, isn't that right? So this guy's name is Tank until he goes to his new owners and gets renamed.
And this is Aurora.
There's Aurora.
Aurora. Aurora's the runt. She's the smallest one.
She is cute as hell. She almost doesn't look real. It looks like a toy they put batteries in.
Oh,
honestly.
Wind her up.
Yeah. So if these puppies can't get me at least 10 viewers, I don't know what to do, man. I'm done for. So I met Skylar. Well, I mean, I've known Skylar's family for quite a while and seen you here and there. And then recently he came back from China. And relocating back here in the States. And he's got quite the crypto journey and, well, life journey, actually. You could probably write a book at the young age of, I'm pretty sure he's 26. We're going to go with 26 on this one. But
Close enough.
Yeah, like without sharing or doxing yourself or anything, you grew up in a small town, right? And how do you think that affected some of the adventures you've gone on? Do you think that it pushed you to go check out some stuff that most people in little towns don't go check out? Or do you think it like gave you, I don't know, like the base and the confidence to know that if this doesn't work out, there's somewhere safe I can go back to?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I think being the oldest has something to do with it too. It's just kind of like more independent and adventurous. But yeah, being from a small town, I think you like gain a lot of skills, like life skills, and you have to like learn about a lot of different things, spend time outdoors, meet a lot of different people. And so I think just, it was a big jump though to go from, where I was to a big city in China. But being out there, it was kind of, just like picking things up, being adaptable, being flexible, and trying to figure out how life works. So I think the small town vibes are very different. Coming back actually has been it's been a trip for sure.
Definitely. I'm going to move this a little bit so they don't have to look at the sound things in my closet. That's better. A little bit more Biggie behind us. So you finished high school, and did you go straight from high school into traveling, or you did some traveling in high school, right? Before you graduated high school, you did some traveling?
Just a little bit though, nothing like this. Like I did a short stint in Fiji for a humanitarian thing for about 3 months. So I did that right after high school. And then once I got back, kind of had like the bug, the taste for it.
You're like, oh, what else is out there?
Yeah.
Like, let's do this.
Yeah. I know you've been traveling a little bit too. So
yeah,
probably.
Yeah. I love traveling. I'd rather probably travel than stay put. So we've got Samantha. She needs this puppy. Which one do you want? Do you want Tank? Oh goodness, Tank's losing it. Tank just wants to go back to sleep. Do you want Tank? So this is Tank and this is Aurora. Hold Aurora back up. Now Samantha's here. She's got to see that one.
Aurora's so cute.
She's adorable. The runt is simply adorable.
She's shaking a little.
Oh. Yeah. Hex Farmer, what's up? It's good to see you too. Yeah, so we're just getting to know Skylar here. Skylar, so at what point did you think, not only do I like traveling, but I could actually relocate and live outside the U.S.?
Yeah, it kind of didn't feel like that at first. It was like always a grind, and we got paid under the table when I first went over. I did English teaching for a long time. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of just the thing that you did. And then after a while, it was kind of like, well, there's more here. There's more opportunities. Like China's development has been on the up and up. And so because of that, they've had a lot of opportunities and a lot of like Chinese products they're trying to like sell to the rest of the world. They're marketing them to the rest of the world. So because of that, they need like native speakers. And because of a lot of Chinese, rules and regulations, they don't have a lot of people very comfortable with going over, spending time in China, because it's kind of hard, right? And they regulate, what you can and can't do. And there's a lot of restrictions about that. So because of that, there's less foreigners from China, foreigners outside of China who are willing to stay in China and kind of figure out that stuff and work for Chinese companies. But because of that, there's just a bunch of opportunities. And so I kept finding other stuff and eventually found my way to this crypto stuff.
Wow. And now, what was it like learning Chinese? Like, you didn't like study it in high school or anything like that, did you?
No, it's hard.
So is it all immersive or immersive plus classes? How did you learn the Chinese, you know.
I think you need both. At first, like the grammar is more simple, so that makes it easier later on. But at first, like it's just a totally different thing. It looks like chicken scratch to you every time you're looking at characters, and it's hard. So if you can do both, if you can be immersed like in the city, you know, just trying tea at the tea shops, or you know, hanging out with people on the street, just trying your Chinese any chance possible. Like, but yeah, you mess up a lot. You say a lot of stuff that ends up getting you embarrassed.
Are people just laughing at you when you're like trying, or are they trying to understand you?
Both. You got to have a sense of humor about it though, right? Because then you never try or you never learn. But yeah, so
wow, that's crazy. And you the first thing that you started doing in China was teaching English. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And so who is it that wants to learn English in China, and why? Why are they wanting to acquire the language?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're one of the few countries in the world that doesn't use English for its like business language, because there's just so many Chinese speakers, and they basically, yeah, like in the 80s, people in China were really into learning Russian because of the different, you know, political climate, and now it's moved to English because, you know, we kind of won that battle in the States. But yeah, so more people are interested in learning English, and basically everybody's interested in it because, you know, all of China's dealings, most of China's dealings is with the rest of the world, and the rest of the world uses English as a business language. So because of that, there's a huge demand for it. But that being said, while I was there, they regulated it really hard after a couple of years.
They regulated,
yeah, the English industry. So basically, the English teaching industry. So basically, they said like online education companies can't IPO. They're worried about like, you know, companies trying to make too much of a profit off of this industry instead of it being more about, you know, the education. And they also said English needs to be taught by Chinese people instead of foreigners coming in and teaching English. So
wow,
yeah, so they cut the whole industry, and that's part of the reason that I got into crypto stuff a little bit later.
Yeah, no, okay, so let's. Is there something between where you started teaching English and crypto? Is there another story, like you were a exotic male dancer, or like a newspaper boy? Is there anything else you want to like to segue into that, or?
Yeah, that's honestly not far off. Like for a long time, it was like looking at like different opportunities, and China's got it all. China definitely has it all. You guys got to go visit and see how it is. But I ended up kind of sidling into online education before they cut it, and so I did like a lot of marketing stuff for these companies. I worked with people from all over the world, teaching online classes. You know, built training systems, QA systems, and then I ended up transitioning into working for ByteDance, which is TikTok's parent company. So they had a couple different projects. One was also like an online education. It was an app. We built an app for kids to, you know, like play games or like practice learning art, English, math, that kind of stuff. And I did a lot of video content for that and a lot of marketing for them. And then honestly, like funny enough, the first time I ever heard about anything crypto was in a hip hop club in Beijing in 2017. And my buddies were just like, talking to me about like how ICOs worked. And I don't even think they knew it as ICOs at the time. They just had a buddy in Europe who was basically saying, yeah, just send me, you know, 10K USD and I'll return you 100
of these tokens,
100K USD of these tokens.
We'll give you a banana coin, right?
I think he cashed out for them. So
yeah,
he like kept it all in his ecosystem, but
that's good.
I remember that being the first time I heard about it. And then all of a sudden they weren't talking about it anymore. They weren't going clubbing anymore as much. And then later on, you know, years later, I learned about the 2017, 2018 crash.
Oh yeah, because they got wrecked, is what you're saying.
Yeah, everybody.
I thought you were saying they made so much money they didn't even go to the club anymore. You're saying they got wrecked and they're like, yeah, I don't got party money anymore.
Yeah, well, they made a bunch of money for a little while, like a lot of people did.
Yeah, that 17 wave was intense, man. That was really intense. I had a little bit of Bitcoin that I've been stacking since back in the day, and I remember watching it go to 20 grand and thinking to myself, I got enough money right now in crypto where I could become debt free for the most part. I could pay off everything but my house and really improve my lifestyle. But at the same time, I was like, if I sell this Bitcoin right now, like it could go to $1 million and I'll never get back in. So I was terrified, and the only stable coin back there was Tether, and I still don't trust Tether at all. So I didn't have anywhere to like park it in a stable. Yeah. And so it went right back down to 3 grand.
You kept it in Bitcoin.
Or actually, no, it went down to 6 grand. Yeah, I held it in Bitcoin all the way back down. Yeah. and just thought, oh, what did I do? I missed my opportunity, you know?
Yeah.
And it went down to 6K, and I was like, it went flat, and I was like, okay, this is the bottom. So I dumped all the money I had in at 6K and immediately dropped to 3.
Wow.
Like a week after I put all of my money I had into it, it dropped in half. And I was like, I hate crypto. I hate crypto so much because every time I buy, it crashes.
Yeah.
Every time I sell, it spikes. No matter what I do. Like I could have a paid trading group where all I did was tell them what I was doing, and you do the opposite. You'd make so much money. So much money.
So you didn't mess around with any of the ICO stuff or like
all
these coins launching at the time?
I took a quarter of a Bitcoin, which was $2,500 when I did this. I put $2,500 into 50 coins, so $50 into 50 coins, and a year later it was worth $3.71. The $2,500, like all of them combined, was worth $3.71 of
like,
all the alts.
It was like just your EOS.
It was straight garbage, again. And I was like, what am I doing? But the thing is, like, it's like a college education, or like putting time in as an intern for a few years. Like, you're gonna pay to learn what to do and what not to do.
Yeah,
right,
for sure.
And after the cycles come and go, you're like, okay, I kind of understand the timing. I kind of understand the projects that are all promises and no deliver.
Yeah.
Right. Or I understand that these coins have a really strong community, and they're really holding up the price, and they're really marketing, and they're really onboarding.
Yeah.
So you start seeing, start to see where the value actually comes from and stays in crypto. Sure. And you start learning that every 4 years you're going to make a ton of money, and then for 3 years you're going to get kicked in the dick. You're just gonna look at your number and just drop to nothing.
Hey, some people are into that. The pain.
They are. I'm gonna give a shout out real quick. Samantha says she'll take both puppies. Harmonic Hexagon, hey fam, what's up? Francis Powell in the house. Hello, how's it going? Good to see you, Francis. And then we got Functional Crypto. Pleb effort. I love it. Yes, plebs. Plebs
unite.
This tank is like climbing over my back. Let me get you down lower myself. There we go. Actually, you can. Let's one more puppy view right here. Functional Crypto is here for the puppies. Say hi. My name's Tank. This dog is going to my brother-in-law, Cade.
Tank.
Cade's taking this one.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. So he'll give it a really cool hippie, like Native American Spanish name or something.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
But he'll always be Tank to me. Huh. All right. So you're in the club. You hear about crypto, but obviously, like, you're like probably trying to figure out what these guys are talking about, but you're probably not like, oh, let me swing 10K into this.
Yeah. It wasn't. It was, just kind of trying to do a little bit of research at the time, but also like thinking it was just way too good to be true. Like, how could this, be sustainable? How could this be like actual returns on my money, right? And I wasn't made of money at the time in China, just doing my thing, and it was just a trip to hear about it then, and then kind of got back in during the COVID crash, got more interested in it, and then I started working in the industry.
So what was your first investment or first coin that you were like, hey, let's see what we can do with this coin? Remember what it was?
Yeah, funny enough, I was buying Bitcoin and Ethereum on Robinhood.
No way.
Yeah, so I got in that way, and then as I was doing my research, I was like, oh wait, this is probably not the best place to not have my coins. But this is like a big crypto nano, of course.
Yeah, because like if the price spikes or falls, they magically just turn off trading.
Yeah,
to you, but not to the big boys.
Yeah,
the big boys are still trading back and forth, buying and selling, and all these people like plebs are sitting there like with the refreshing the screen, like, hey, I want to sell right now. And it's not letting me. Yeah,
and this is before I looked into DeFi and decentralized exchanges, and how these smart contracts work and how you can keep yourself protected. But yeah, I was just like, I knew enough that I wanted to kind of invest in it, but I didn't realize what would happen later, like with the GME debacle and them just basically shutting off the faucets for people. So yeah, it's important to always own your own keys. And
and I mean, at that point, how many people actually understand custody of private keys? Like, to actually, if I said custody of private keys, people know what those 3 words mean, but not together.
Right.
Together, it's like word salad.
Yeah.
It's gobbledygook when you speak crypto to people. All these words are like, well, I know what encryption is. I know what a wallet is, I think. But when you start like slamming them together, people's eyes glaze over, and you might as well just be speaking a completely foreign language, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. And these are important principles to understand. But yeah, even understanding like public keys versus private keys takes a little bit of time and effort to get into. But I think, that's kind of why crypto, like, I think we're still a little bit niche, and we kind of like that it's a little bit complicated. So there's that
barrier of entry.
Yeah.
That makes it like members only.
Yeah.
Because like those guys that were able to do the ICOs back in the day, like that's not stuff that anyone understands unless you're like young and have a friend and are willing to put in like enough degen time and effort to figuring some of these things out, like the DEXs, right? The decentralized exchanges and VPNs, and using exchanges overseas that'll hold the coin that no one else is coin. There's so much like inside knowledge back then.
Yeah.
But then again, like the way that you got in, think about it, like downloading Robinhood, putting in your information and a credit card and buying crypto is like the easiest way ever
for sure.
into crypto.
Yeah.
Now it's like you said, you found out later, oh, this isn't like real crypto. Yeah. And it's not even mine. It's the IOU of an IOU.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it gets exposure to, there's so many people that the GameStop.
Yeah.
And what was the other one? The movie theaters? AMC, yeah. Like that gets people, it gets them a taste of what's out there and available. Yeah. Unfortunately, it brings them into the casino door. Yeah. And like gets them gambling, right? Yeah. They're like, it gets like that addiction started. Yeah. So it's like, it's a double-edged sword, right?
We all got a little bit of that in us.
Hey, Nate Stakes, what's up? My buddy from just south of here. Good to see you. Samantha Lowe said everybody here has a wrench. That's what I did. 3 streams ago, everyone had a wrench, and hot adult dating websites was all over my chat, and I was like, geez Louise, you all have a wrench. But then I was like, whatever. It gives me viewership. I'll let the hot dating website bot in here. I don't care.
So you've been through a couple cycles already. Mm-hmm. Do you think this cycle feels different, like this bear bull cycle?
Yeah, this cycle is way different.
What do you think?
Because like the first cycle that I was a part of was the crash of the $1,000 cycle. So in 2014 or 2015, I was trying to learn about stocks and options. And one of the guys I was learning from, Alicia Rattini, said, everyone check out Bitcoin. Because Bitcoin had just gone from $1,000 to 150. Wow. And he was just a trader, right? He's like, dude, this is a good opportunity, because he saw the previous cycles. But back then, that was still like right after Mt. Gox fell apart. And that was when like Bitcoin was the only name on the block, and everything that wasn't Bitcoin was a copy of Bitcoin, except for Ethereum. So Ethereum was coming out around the same time. But I was spending so much time wrapping my head around understanding Bitcoin and how it worked in its ecosystem that I ignored the 15-cent Ethereum. And I'm kicking myself now, but you don't know what you don't know, right? So that was the first cycle. And then, of course, I started getting into it. I'd gamble with Bitcoins and Ethereum online, because they had like all these old little weird websites like Satoshi's Dice and stuff, where you could set the odds and you could set the payout, and you would just sit there and gamble all day. I had nothing else to do. I was in the oil fields all by myself, just freezing my butt off during the day and hating life. And again, trying to figure out any way that I could get free. Right. Yeah. And so I'm watching Bitcoin, I'm buying Bitcoin, and I know about the halvening of Bitcoin, but I didn't understand it was directly linked to the spikes and crashes, like almost like clockwork. Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. And so the next one, I got a lot of people in, and a lot of newer people were finding ways to buy Bitcoin. There was like an ATM in Salt Lake I used to go up to at the overstock.com lobby. They had a Bitcoin ATM where you could buy and sell Bitcoin without KYC.
Wow.
Yeah, this is like the old days. And I was like taking pictures and putting it on Facebook, and like everyone's like, this guy's crazy. What's he talking about? So I'm stacking sats as
Still
much as I
crazy,
can.
but
Yeah,
more crazy back
more
then.
crazy. I'm giving Bitcoin to all of my buddies. Like I'm literally helping them set up wallets on their phones or laptops. I'm giving them like a buck of Bitcoin or whatever. I'm like, guys, this is going to be huge. You got to grow. And then at the same time, I was listening to a bunch of podcasts about like anarchy and freedom and libertarians and voluntarists and people that just wanted more freedom in their life. And they're like, okay, Bitcoin's our savior. It's going to help us. We're going to use Bitcoin for the whole economy, and then the banks and governments can't mess with us. Okay, spoiler alert, that didn't happen. But we had a lot of excitement and hope that it would free us from
It's a good narrative.
It was a great narrative. It's still a great narrative.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just probably not going to happen with Bitcoin. So I'm going crazy, and it's occupying my time. I'm driving truck, and so I'm listening to 10 hours a day of podcast, YouTube, and stuff at 2x. So I'm going through 20 hours trying to catch up on all the stuff I'd missed from the old days, the beginning of Satoshi and Bitcoin pizza and all that crazy stuff. And then that next crash, like I said, that was a crash where I was rich, but it didn't help my life on that 2017 wave. It was like, oh, I learned so many things about taking profit.
Yeah.
And about DCA and buying back in and setting a target and sticking to the target, not to what you feel like that day. Because that day you might be like, oh, this is my last chance, and you FOMO into a coin. Yeah. You're just like, if it hits that, great. If it hits this, great. Like I have a plan. I'm going to stick to the plan because my emotions have not been doing a good job with money. Right. And so we did that, and I learned a ton. But at the same time, now I'm further into my trucking career. I know a lot more about crypto now. I've seen a lot of the pump and ups come and gone. I lost my ass on trying to chase the last altcoin market. And I was just like, okay, I'm a Bitcoin maximalist, right?
Oh, okay.
I was like, I know that Bitcoin's going to stick around and probably Ethereum, but I hate Ethereum with a passion because when I finally found out what Ethereum was, they said, we're going to come up with Ethereum 2.0 in 6 months, right? This is like 7 years ago.
Yeah, I was going to say that
was forever ago. So I took a whole bunch of my Bitcoin and I bought the hype of Ethereum, and I was late to it because everyone knows you buy the rumor, sell the news.
For sure.
So obviously the first of 100 times that they failed to meet their goals, I crashed and I lost all that Bitcoin. And I was heartbroken. And then I saw them do it over and over and over again. I just grew to hate Ethereum because I never got over that loss. So here we go. I'm stacking sats. I'm studying all these Bitcoin maxis. Juan Galt. Big shout out to Juan Galt. I was down there in Anarchapulco with all the crazy crypto dudes in Mexico in 2000. This was during the 2017 spike and crash.
Was it?
Yeah. So, and everyone was like, they're like, don't sleep on Bitcoin. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of promises out there. So I'm like, okay. So back to Bitcoin. So I'm stacking Bitcoin, and I find Richard Hart. Richard Hart was a Bitcoin maxi, and he was like, hey, Ethereum sucks, and this is why. And he was right. He still has those old posts up where he's like, these are the problems with Ethereum. And he was right at the time. And he was calling the tops and bottoms of Bitcoin. He's like, oh, we're going to go lower. We're going to go higher. And I was like, oh, this guy really knows Bitcoin inside and out. So I started following him and just stacking as many Bitcoins as I could, hoping that an emergency at my house with my kids wouldn't wipe out my Bitcoin.
Yeah, wipe out your
because I was like, this is my one chance. And my goal was, if my Bitcoin ever became worth $1 million, I'd sell it, I'd buy cash flowing real estate, and I'd retire. That was my plan for a long time. And then Richard comes out with Hex, and he says, this will pay you interest. And I was like, man, if my crypto cash flowed, I wouldn't have to leave crypto. And so I went really heavy into Hex in 2000. Well, he announced it in 2017. It didn't come out till 2019. So he said he'd get it done. And he's like, yeah, it'll take like 6 months. It took 2 years. So he was even like, software is hard.
Yeah. He's always said that.
Yeah. And software connected to money is really hard because everyone has a reason to wreck you. You have a huge honeypot, a huge trap, like target.
Yeah. No kidding.
Right. So he comes out, we FOMO into it. I go crazy. And then on one of the on one of his live streams, he says, do you think that it's fair for an auction to have a minimal bid? And in my mind, I thought, you know what? I think he sees the bottom of the price of Hex here. And I dumped everything, like everything I had into it that day. And I don't know. I think it was like 3 zeros and a 2 or something like that. 4 zeros and a 2. It was pretty low. So I dumped it all in there, and that was it. And then I just started like going crazy with the Hexkins and watching Hexologists every day. All the Hex streamers started going crazy because they finally had something that they believed in, because number one, the code was finished. That never happens in crypto, ever. There's always a roadmap and an upgrade that they're hyping,
There's
right?
developments and features on
There's no admin keys that's locked immutable. That never happens in crypto. There's always some dude in Beijing or Thailand with a key to like flip the script on everybody or rug pull everybody. Yeah. And then number 3, it actually did what it said. It was a truth engine. Like, if I locked my coins for so many days, at the end of those days, I had more coins. I was like, it just works. It just actually does what it says it's going to do. And that was it. And then when the next bull market came of 2021, that was my retirement date. My number was 4 cents. I was like, if Bitcoin hits 4 cents, I'll have enough money to live until my next stakes come out, and so on and so forth. And that was it.
If Hex hits, right?
Yeah, if Hex hits 4 cents.
So what was it about, like, because you did the altcoin thing in like 2017 with the ICO phase. You talked a little bit about that. So what was it about like Hex that made you feel like confident enough or brave enough to dump everything into it? Because you must have been burned a little bit before.
Yeah, it was Richard Hart. So like I'd listened to 800 hours of Richard Hart by then, because I went back and listened to his old stuff. He would live stream for 8 hours, when he was live streaming. And I also saw the community develop Hex with Richard Hart. So Richard Hart would go on and say, hey, what should our interest be? What interest should it pay? And the whole community would talk, well, how do you do this? How do you do this? And they say, well, how do we make sure that bigger always pays better and longer always pays better? Because if I lock for a year and then someone locks and unlocks 365 times, you want to make sure I get a better deal than that guy. Yeah. Because that guy has an opportunity to dump 365 times more than I do, right? Yeah. And so all that matters is number goes up. All that matters is people lock up their coins, and you got to give them a reason to do it, right? So I viewed not only the birth of Hex, but I felt like I knew Richard as a person, as good as you're going to know a person on YouTube. Like I felt like kind of like his neighbor or his coworker at that point. In some ways, I felt like his friend, but obviously I didn't see him all the time. I just saw what he chose to show YouTube. So I kind of trusted that his motivation was for glory, right? Richard didn't need to become retired. He retired when he was like 23, 25. Yeah. He didn't need like he just didn't need the money. He wanted to prove that everything he was telling people about Bitcoin and the market was true. He wanted recognition. He wanted respect.
Building a legacy.
Yeah, he said, I want to make the number one coin in the world. And I believed that he could do it. And I knew that as long as he wanted to do that, his goal of recognition and my goal of freedom aligned. And that's what made me confident enough to put it in and try it and really ride it. And then he developed, a lot of people give Richard Hart credit for creating Hex, but the best thing that Richard ever created was the community, because the community came up with the T-share. The community came up with a lot of the tokenomics and design. The community taught each other about, private versus public keys and custody and wallets and what was safe and what wasn't. And there was so much information. There were so many coders and really, really smart, big brain people on YouTube daily, just teaching you stuff for free to make the community better and smarter. It was different than anything I've ever experienced in my life.
Yeah, I bet. There's nothing really like the Hex community. Yeah,
there really isn't. The Hexagon army is there's no second place. I mean, Doge has a fun, cool community. Bitcoin has some cultists that are have bet their life and their egos on it. They're like Bitcoin forever. So, but the Hexicans care more, have more fun, are more excited about the future, and they're more interested in helping other people and paying it forward than anyone else. Like you said earlier, like starting a YouTube channel was like, I knew that I was trying to teach everyone I could everything I learned in 8 years. I was trying to capsulate it into like an hour or a day or whatever, and give this knowledge to people if they wanted it. And so I'd go to a lot of people's kitchen tables and walk them through setting up a Coinbase account, setting up a MetaMask, locking and staking Hex, getting some money in there for this liquid, and working with them saying, hey, when do you want to retire? When do you want to buy a truck? When do you want to take the kids on vacation? What are your goals? Let's tailor this to your needs.
Sure.
And it got to the point where I was always gone. I was like, this is never going to work. I can't reach the people I want to one-on-one. And so I started making videos on the questions that I was getting. So I did these Zoom workshops where I take someone brand new and I would try to explain them from the very beginning what crypto is, how it works, why I am in the crypto I'm in, and how to use it, stuff like that. And shortly, I mean, even though I have a small channel now, and like right now there's 13 people watching, so I mean, just calm down. Just take a breath if you need to. If you get a little stage fright, all these 13. Now it's 12. See what I did?
No, that's good. That's good numbers, man.
It's good numbers. But what I'm saying is I go back to some of my videos, even the dumb short ones where they're like vacation vlogs. If there's 50 or 60 people there and I say something about crypto that helps their life or like turns a light bulb on, that's like 50 or 80 people I never could do in person. Even my smallest, silliest channels or videos reach more people than I could in a month of meetings at kitchen tables.
Yeah, no kidding.
And so that was it. It came that. And then because I had a YouTube channel, I got to hang out with some of the other YouTubers. Like they recognized me. We'd get together. We'd stream together. I could interview them. When we have parties down in Vegas or whatever, we'd actually get to meet each other in person, which is totally cool to like go from online to in real life friends.
Yeah, for sure.
And none of them have like really like let me down for the most part. Like they've all been like the coolest, friendliest, most loving, helpful people I've ever met. And when I went down to Texas recently, it just blew my mind how many people were down there ready to party, ready to help, ready to teach. Like they're like, what do you need? What do you want? What are you doing? Like if you need help finding a place, if you need help, putting the word out, if you want me to make a flyer, I'll make a flyer.
Oh, nice.
It was insane. But the community really like got together and pulled to try and help as many people as we can.
And that was a Hex event?
Yeah. We went down and did a Texan token and Hex meetup party in Texas in my RV, and it was awesome. It was so much fun. I love Texas. So that's that. So now enough about me blabbering about myself on my own channel. A lot of these guys have heard all this stuff before. I want to go back to you because a lot of us that have been in crypto for a long time don't do crypto as a job. Even the coders don't code crypto. Even the IT guys don't IT for crypto companies. They work for banks or the public sector, and then at night they come and they join the crypto world. So a lot of us haven't seen what it's like for a project to get launched, or like what goes on inside of an exchange or a layer one project where they're like, look, this is our idea. We want to accomplish A with B, and then it goes from there. So what was the kind of stuff that led you to the job you're in now? And what is it like in an everyday like environment of an actual crypto company that does this for professionally?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, there's a pretty big variance in crypto companies, just like I think there's a decent variance, in the Web 2 world with companies and what they're doing and what kind of innovations they're making or not making. And I think, I have experience working for a couple different companies. There's a couple things that make them successful, and there's, like different roadmaps that people follow that like kind of like change the outcome of how well the company does. So for example, one company that I work for currently is called MetaDerby. I'm a marketing lead over there, and what they do is essentially just a metaverse horse racing game. And so it's built on the Avalanche blockchain ecosystem, And essentially you just, you purchase the token, the hoof token, you pay the token to enter a race, and then you get token rewards if you place like top 6 or top 7. And there's a couple different like game modes. One is like a death race mode where you put your NFT on the line. So you have a racehorse NFT. If you get, bottom half of the races, you have your NFT burned. But if you get top half, you get like extra rewards.
Whoa.
So, yeah.
So it's almost like racing for pink slips. Like not only am I putting my coins on the line, I'm putting an NFT up for grabs.
Yeah, and this is also community driven stuff. Like people wanted some variance in the game play, and they wanted like more opportunities to make more, or have some burning mechanisms. So this is a really good burning mechanism for NFTs. But anyways, that's kind of like getting into the specifics. But I think where this company does well, which is different from another company that I worked for, is they have a really great backing and founding, and the co-founders is kind of like this ex-Binance Mafia team where the CFO is a VC for the former CFO at Binance is a VC for the company. The former marketing lead for Binance, former tech lead for Binance, all are co-founders for this company. And so even though like the idea has been done before, there's been other horse racing games built before ours, I think having that backing, that supports, and that kind of like network and resources is big, because you have all these different projects, you have all these different connections in the community, and it's kind of like the Hex thing, the more people the more opportunities you have, the more bigger network you have. And so that's true of this MetaDerby company, and so that's been a big up for them.
Well, and think about it. I mean, because crypto is still an emerging industry, how many people are going to get the experience in some of these positions at some of these companies? It's very limited. That there's a very limited pool of skilled people with experience, right?
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
There's not a lot of experience going around.
Yeah, and I find that a lot of these crypto companies will take like less experience than the Web 2 world. Web 2 world, if you're doing like anything software, or even marketing, they want 4 or 5, sometimes 10 years for bigger positions of experience. And crypto's like, well, we know not everybody has that much experience except for you, and so they're like, yeah, we'll take a year or 2 of experience, but like when you're in this world, that can be like an eternity. Like
1 year in crypto is like 10 years in any other industry.
Yeah, I'm going gray already just from the last 2 years.
Well, and it changes because it's like you might have known what happened the last 2 years, but in the next 2 years, everything in crypto can change dramatically.
Yeah.
So are you gonna like keep up with the new technology, the new chains, the new sharding, the new everything? And we also, no one knows what the regulation's going to do.
Yeah,
because governments are scrambling to be like, how do I tax this?
Yep.
How do I regulate this? And the truth is, it changes so fast. We're having trouble keeping up, being in it, and someone outside of it is not going to figure it out and figure out how to regulate it. They're going to be behind the curve.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
So yeah, how do you implement good, long-lasting regulations without tanking the innovation that's happening? You don't want to mess with the innovations, and you want to be able to have that tax income as a country. So yeah, it's tricky. But I mean, like, just to kind of go back to my other point about this MetaDerby project, there's another company that I work for that I actually co-founded called History DAO. And what they do is kind of like record history on the blockchain. So they record current events in history on the blockchain. And it's basically kind of sort of changing the business model with the current news cycle. So you can see like the current news cycle is pretty inflammatory, and that's how the business model works. It's, how many users can I get to click on this article? And that's how I generate ad revenue. And that's the entire ecosystem, right? So the more inflammatory stuff, the more like divided stuff gets more views or more attention. And what we're trying to do is allow users from all over the world to mint basically moments as they happen globally, because crypto is a very global thing, as history NFTs or current event NFTs. And so they're able to basically within the ecosystem buy, sell, and trade these NFTs. We promote them on the platform, and it kind of I guess changes the way that the news cycle is recorded or done in Web3. So I think that like the strength of these different crypto projects is different. Like with MetaDerby, it's their backing and their network and their resources. With this project, is something I think really innovative and needed, and it's like solving a pain point that we see in Web 2. And so I think there's a lot of different things going on when you kind of like are on the back end of these companies,
right?
And promote these companies.
And if you're working with stuff like social media, Twitter, Facebook, Discord, you're like trying to get the word out and try to get their information and message out. you're working with hopefully trying to create a community, right, around these tokens, around these projects. How much do they talk about the community, and what kind of ways have they figured out to grow community? What are their strategies to grow community in a new project?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And, lots of varying levels of success for different companies that I've worked with or worked for. I think community is everything. With NFT projects, community is everything, especially how launch NFT projects. But I think, the MetaDerby is a gamified project, which has some combination of NFTs and tokens and a token ecosystem. And I think even then, community is so big because you can draw so much from your community, and your community is your users. It's the people that will market your game for you. If they enjoy your game, it's the people that will help find bugs in your code. It's the people that'll come up with really great ideas because they're in it and they're part of the project every single day, and they see what could be improved or what parts they like. And so driving the community and community engagement it's tricky because we're all used to how Web 2 world did it. And I did, Web 2 tech marketing for, years before I did the crypto stuff. And I think Web3 is still kind of lacking some of those marketing tools. And I think part of the problem is because Web3 people are more concerned about their data and privacy. And we've seen the flaws in the Web2 model. And so people are more concerned with, like using a username and password to log into some project. So, they'd rather just use their wallet address and remain, as anonymous as possible. So that's kind of like a side rant about the marketing stint. But as for like community stuff goes, that I think more tools will be developed for Web3 in the coming years that'll really kind of help drive community engagement and get as much data as possible so that people like me in this marketing. Yeah, it is.
Aurora is knocked out,
yes. She is so tired.
Yeah, they're both asleep. You can tell how interesting we are by the reaction of the puppies.
How?
Yeah. So that's really interesting. Trying to create community because, like I said, it's because money is a socially consensus thing. It's whatever you and I agree it is. Then the community can make or break a crypto.
Yeah.
Right. Like I said, we were mentioning earlier, Dogecoin. Like Dogecoin used to have these decentralized dance parties. Did you hear about those?
No,
if you go on YouTube, they used to get all these Bluetooth speakers and connect them together and play music and just dance through cities and through towns in crazy outfits, just having fun, wearing Doge masks and things like that. And so, like, if you can have a group of people that want to be together and want to help one another, then money just falls into place with those ones, and you'll always have someone there that's interested in buying the coin, which is huge. You were asking me earlier what's different about this cycle versus the other ones, and I turned it into all about me story. The difference this cycle is that crypto got a lot more attention from the government and regulators because there's a lot more money pumped out of it, and it also got a lot more attention from people with their 401ks and anyone that's in the Generation X and lower generations. They believe this is here to stay. To them, it's like the internet, right? They're like, okay, well, I just got to figure out how I'm going to use the internet, but I'm definitely going to use the internet. And now that legacy finance has really shot the younger generations in the head.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, like,
especially 401ks.
Yeah, 401ks. Look at what they've done with student loans, 401ks, and buying a house. Like, how many people your age do you know that are like planning on buying a house and are putting money into a 401k?
Yeah, it's not very common.
No, it's super rare.
Why would you have faith in that system when it's done nothing for you, and all you hear about is that system failing? Yeah,
well, with inflation, the price of houses goes up so fast, so much faster than someone's income. It's like, well, it does. Like, if I can get a house, great, but almost everyone is being pushed into renting now.
Yeah, especially not in this market. Like, especially the last year or so. Year or two, when the market's been going crazy. I've been talking to my friends since I've been back, and I was in China for long enough that a lot has changed. And I come back and my friends talk to me about buying at different points. I had a buddy who bought his house in like right after the 2008-2009 global financial crisis. He got in really low, and his house has appreciated to the point where it's like 3x, 4x what he bought it now. And he said it was even higher than that about a year ago. But I also have friends that bought at the top of the market, the housing market, about a year and a half ago, and it's just like, yeah, like it's hard to make those decisions between renting and buying, and trying to, I guess, sort out your own finances before you figure out when you're going to do that.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
this economy is loaded against the newer generations.
I think that the newer generation, younger generations, also are doing a lot more traveling, and they also want to be more mobile. Like a lot of the younger generations don't think, oh, I'm going to be in this city for the next 40 years, 20 years at this job.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm going to be in 5 years.
Yeah,
Like, I have no idea. So to buy a house is like, okay, if I buy a house, I either need to know how I'm going to sell it or how I'm going to manage it and rent it out. And that's a lot.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot different than just being like, well, this is where we're going to live, kids.
Yeah. Remote work enables a lot of that. So it's nice to have that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the younger generations are finding better places to hang out. Like for real, like the amount of people I met when I went to Burning Man, every time I met someone, they're like, oh yeah, we live in Bali. And I'm like, of course you live in Bali. Why wouldn't you live anywhere else or Tibet or Thailand? They're just like, oh yeah, like I'm always in this part of the country or world. And I'm like, like the Generation X, we didn't do a lot of that at all.
Yeah.
We were like lucky if we saw Europe, or actually most of Generation X's traveling was in the military, because a lot of us got sucked into the military and went overseas. And that if you're in the military, you got to travel. But if you didn't, very few people ended up teaching Chinese overseas, or really moving, unless it was like their family was in the travel lifestyle. Very few people in my generation were like, I'm going to travel. Yeah. If they did, it was like a big deal. We were all talking like, oh, so-and-so is like going through Brazil again. Like it was not the norm at all.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's the norm now, but I think it's much more common for the younger generations to really want to get out and see the world.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are forced into it as well, having to move to find opportunities because they weren't available where you were. That was kind of my deal. I graduated a literature major, which was on me. But I was like, what am I going to do with this? Like I can stay here and work,
Teach literature.
Yeah, I which I kind of did something in that vein, but yeah, I had to move, all the way to the other side of the world to do it. But yeah, there's just a shift in what's going on globally and who's on the up and who's, kind of stagnating, and where the money is. Follow the money.
Yeah, that's crazy. So the other thing that we noticed this time was the double top. So like everyone was trying to front run everybody. So everyone's trying to get in and get out before everyone else. So you had a really sharp spike to where, like, if you wanted to sell the top of the market, you had like 3 or 4 weeks. That was the top of the market. And then it was not the top of the market, right? And everyone started to crash. 2021, yeah. 2021, yeah. So it starts to crash, but then you see something interesting, which is you see this pump back up. And in my opinion, those are the institutions. Those are the people with a lot of stable coins and a lot of Bitcoin wash trading, because it was almost like they didn't check their email. They didn't get the memo. They're like, hey, Frank, we're all selling this week. And so like they almost like came back for a do-over or a redo, where they're just like, okay, now sell. And then it dropped. So it's kind of like, it felt that second pump felt very, very manipulated to me. It didn't feel normal or organic at all. Yeah. And, here we are. The government has 20x'd the supply of money in the last like 7 years, right?
20x. Oh my gosh.
So if you're not making 20x on your income, you're going to get swallowed by inflation, right? Yeah. And so I think that also had a lot to do with that, and the fact that the housing market is softened, but it hasn't crashed.
Yeah. Still a lot going on there.
Anyways, here we go. So back into to chat here. Harmonic Hexen, the upcoming bull is the most exciting. There are way more people in the game and institutional money, not to mention Pulse Chain launch, $, Yeah, Pulse Chain. We'll get into that in a second too. Overstock.com. I bought a KitchenAid mixer for my wife with Bitcoin. That thing cost me $200,000 in today's value. That's hilarious. About time. Francis Powell. Does she use the mixer? That's funny. I know people back in the day that I met that were buying drugs on Silk Road with Bitcoin,
Yeah.
and they're like, I was spending like 70 grand a week on weed, and they're just shaking their heads because it was in Bitcoin, right?
Well, it was about 6 months ago that they had some like dormant Bitcoin wallets wake up and have some things moving in and out.
Really?
And people started to people were like, oh wait, that's like right when the that's right when the sentences ended. Yeah, the Silk Road sentences ended. So like these old wallet addresses are waking up because these guys are getting out of jail. And,
that's really interesting.
Yeah, so
and it freaks people out when those big old wallets move.
Yeah,
there's like websites that just track how many days it sat dormant and who's the biggest. Like, for instance, if Satoshi's coins move tomorrow, the price would just crash completely because they'd be like, oh no, we were hoping he was dead. Like, that's the best case scenario, is that Satoshi Nakamoto died and didn't leave anyone the keys.
Best case scenario for the rest of eternity.
Yeah. Richard playing 40 chess with Satoshi in his head. That's true. Francis Powell, no, it just sits on the counter. That's so sad. Gangs of New York, Hexkins on one side, Shiv plebs on the other. That's funny. I turn into a DJ when I gamble. I start getting reckless, placing everything on red. Oh, Bobby Haxelrod, he's in the house. What's up, Bobby? Good to see you. What up, fam? Chad Donnerschwanz. I always feel like I'm saying something dirty when I say Donnerschwanz. I don't know why. It just doesn't sound right. Bobby Hexelrod, I'm still shocked at how many young people are no-coiners. They've heard of Doge and SHIB, but aren't DCAing into secure future. True. A lot of people giving each other fists here. Tin Top, what's up, Hexkins? Bobby Hexelrod, young people around me don't seem to have money or the desire to invest in their future. It amazed me to hear that they don't even want a car. Uber everywhere, live for today. And then Davis says, I just bought a 13-speed Freightliner Cascadia with 380,000 miles. Happy to buy the semi crash. Are semis crashing right now, Davis? That's crazy. Man, 37,000. That's a good deal. That's a good deal for that truck.
Maybe with supply chains like all clogged up. There's just less demand.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about the semi-truck world at all.
Well, I mean, it used to be really hard to get semis for a while, but they just quit paying drivers. Like drivers. So, for instance, 10 years ago, give or take, I go to truck driving school to become a truck driving man. And they are paying me so much, like 28 cents a mile or something like that, right? We get out on the road. We're hanging out at truck stops. That's what truckers do. And I meet these old truckers, and, they are making a lot more. They probably have their own trucks and stuff. But they're like, hey, how much are they paying you young guys these days? We're like, 28 cents or whatever it is. And he's like, that's what I got paid in the 1970s, was 28 cents a mile.
Really?
And so I'm like, that was like, that scared the hell out of me when I heard that. I was like, oh no.
So what'd you do?
Well, I went to the worst truck driving jobs on earth to make the most money. You go into the oil field, you go into the gold mine, you get your hazmat, you drive around with bombs strapped to you. You go into like the most harsh, worst conditions on earth.
Funny.
Although that's why people do like the ice road truckers and the crazy stuff is like, that's where the money's at.
Yeah.
Either that or owning the trucks that are hopefully producing, But that was the way. Hey, Hex Chef, good to see you, man. What's up, Hex Ray? So you heard about Richard Hart during the Pulse Chain launch, right?
A little bit before. So the guy who probably taught me more about crypto than anybody else, even myself almost, is Big Hexagon, and I worked with him at that History DAO project. So
really,
yeah,
and he's in China.
Yeah, he's in China.
Is he Chinese by birth, or is he also a transplant?
He's a transplant. He's a Polish guy. He was in Thailand for years and years doing software, making a bunch of money, being a software senior engineer, and then he was like, he found DeFi. And he's like, there's levels to this stuff.
I can print my own money.
Yeah, he's like, there's a cap on what I can make as a software engineer, and then he started getting into that stuff. And but yeah, that's where I got most of my Hex knowledge from was that guy. Sorry, I forgot your original question.
No, well, I was saying, when did you find out about Pulse Chain? You were saying from that guy.
Exactly. So that guy was teaching me just a bunch about DeFi, a bunch about just mostly DeFi, but a bunch about crypto in general. And yeah, he was like, go check out this Hex stuff. And he's like, you might be a little bit late for the train on that. But he's like, this guy's who, had a coin that did 10,000x over the last couple of years is launching an layer 1 blockchain ecosystem, and he has these sacrifices going on for these, and this is a great time to get into this project. And so that's basically all I did for like 2 or 3 weeks was research Pulse Chain and Pulse X, and then I ended up sacking and waiting, for the launch. But
for 60 days, right?
Yeah.
Because it launched in 60 days, like Richard said.
Yeah, always. I mean, like,
as Hex is like rocketing up to 50 cents and everyone's losing their mind, we're like, let's go. And then he comes back, he's like, yeah, actually, no, it's not launching yet. And we're like, oh no.
And launching at the bottom of the bear market, like, I think it's a great move. So I think it'll end up great from there. But yeah, what do you have to say about?
Yeah,
Pulse?
well, I mean, I got so excited about Pulse Chain, and was hoping that he and his devs could get it done and beat 2.0 to market. And I mean, let's be honest, Ethereum's 2.0 that they launched is nothing compared to the 2.0 they claimed they were going to launch 6 years ago. Yeah. Like they just kept changing the definition of 2.0 to where they're like, finally, we got rid of the miners. Like that was kind of like their big bad, like, hey, we're paying our friend VCs instead of the miners. Like that's my opinion on it.
Interesting, yeah.
I mean, the fees are still horrible when they're busy, and they're still cheap and reasonable when they're not. Ethereum was definitely the best thing that we could have launched on, I believe, when we launched Hex almost 3 years ago. And I mean, Pulse Chain is just like, I think it's going to be a dream. I put 10 times more money into the Pulse Chain sacrifice than I put into Hex.
Did you?
Like, and so if Pulse Chain does half of what Ethereum does, I'm going to buy a golden plane, a golden jet, right? Like I'll be doing okay. Yeah. I'll be doing okay. But no, really, at this point, because the game changed and flipped, and originally, I believe that Richard Hart was building a fork also off of the BSC chain, which was a fork of the of Ethereum as well. Right. When 2.0 came out, and he was like, him and Zelf was like, no, we should definitely fork this one instead. Then it changed the whole game. Now he has to decide how he's going to improve it, how he's going to implement it, and make sure that it's working. And then he has to figure out his own, because he was going to do a delegated proof of stake, kind of like Dash made really popular back in the day, where we were all excited to just like throw our pulse into the delegators and get some interest. And now he's probably going to do something like Ethereum's doing, where he's just going to have like the validators, the chosen validators, and you're just going to have to pony up a ton of money to run those and put your neck on the line.
To be a validator.
Yeah, and I'm not really worried about that, because I know that Hexkins will always find a way to make yield without giving up their private keys. Mm-hmm. They've done it in all their smart contracts with like Maximus and Acosa and Hedron. I don't know if you've gone into those yet. Yeah. So there's those ones. So Hexkins will find a way to make it trustless and bring it up to the standards that we enjoy. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I have no clue when the market's going to actually hit bottom and when Pulse is actually going to launch at all. Yeah. I mean, you walked in earlier with a meeting that I had. I'm trying to launch my coin before the 24 wave.
Let's go.
Just because, and I mean, yeah, if the coin, like I want this coin to exist. That's the main reason I'm making it. But at the same time, I'm about to learn a bunch of stuff I had no idea existed. Like I've never gone through any of these things before. I've just watched other people do them. So I'm going to learn a ton by that. But whenever Pulse pops up out of the bushes, it'll be like this awesome surprise.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's kind of how I feel about it too.
I was kind of like,
wrote it off for a while.
Yeah, I would like base my plans. Okay, if Pulse launches here or here, then I need to be this much liquid and be this into these coins. But if it launches here and here, and finally I was like, okay, what would I do if I just took it off the table completely? And ever since I've done that, I've slept way better at night. Right?
Yeah.
Like I've had a
Yeah.
lot less to worry about.
Yeah,
and
sure.
and I've made really good decisions. So when it
Yeah.
shows up, that's great. That's awesome. If it doesn't, it's great. Liquid loans. Davis is talking about liquid loans. Have you looked into liquid loans?
That's what I was just talking to you about the other day. The same guy, the Hexagon guy, was just talking about, this whole system of borrowing against your assets, right? So you have all these digital assets that you don't want to sell them because you pay taxes on them, depending on your situation.
And you'll dump the price of your own coin.
Yeah, exactly. And so you take interest off of your assets. You're paying what, like 3-4% interest. It depends on the protocol. I don't know what exactly it is for liquid loans, but you're paying way less than you would pay in taxes to borrow against your assets. And you have those assets anyways, you let them appreciate, gain interest over time. The interest that you're earning on those assets is way bigger than what you're paying to take out that loan to have something spendable. So, we all need our USDT or whatever it is we need to spend money with occasionally, but you spend enough to live or for what you want, and everything else you just let appreciate.
And if they pull that off, then they'll also pull off a stable coin where you can actually see that it's backed.
Yeah.
Like an actual true audited backed stable coin, instead of just trusting Circle or USDC or USDT that's just like, no, we're good, bro.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we know how we're good, bro works in freaking crypto.
When it comes down to it,
billions of dollars just disappear when people say, no, we're good, bro.
Yeah.
Just trust us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bobby Hexelrod's got a tweet here, a tweet from Alex, founder of Hedron. His pulse nodes will be up by year's end. That's interesting. Is that on the test net, or is that like he's going to be ready to go on mainnet? Because we're still waiting on V3.
V3 for
testnet V3 for Pulse. So a lot of people are hoping that by the time we do a testnet V3, that's just to work out the final bugs, and then we can launch very soon after that. But like I said, I get as excited as everyone else, but in my mind, I have to just think, okay, if it shows up, great. If it otherwise, it drives me crazy just thinking about it, right?
So did you sack for Pulse Chain and Pulse X?
I did, but I was poor as hell because we all thought that Pulse was going to come out.
Yeah.
Then it didn't.
Yeah.
And I was broke. All my powder was gone.
Yeah.
Completely gone. Yeah. So I was like, I had a pittance to throw at Pulse X compared to what I put through into Pulse. And I'm glad, because a lot of people are opposite. They missed the Pulse sacrifice and they aped in to the Pulse X. Yeah. So there's a lot of people wanting to balance that out when it launches. And so there's a lot of people talking about pre-bridge and this and that, how they can get in at the right time, where I'm just like, hey, when it works, let me know. Because
someone tested for
I do not want, I don't want to hit the wrong button. I'm too old. I'm too lazy for that. If I was still driving a truck, I would be elbows deep figuring out all this stuff. But because I don't have to drive a truck, I just let things happen, and I just stake. And honestly, I mean, I'm like 90% staked in Hex for a really long time. So I'm going to be part of the community whether they like it or not.
You got the time horizon.
We got Tank wants to chew on my finger. Tank needs a toy. Tank needs a toy.
Give him the microphone.
You need a toy. Yeah, here, chew on the Yeti. Okay, he's not going to say anything. Anyways,
sniffing around in the microphone.
Yeah, exactly. So, what do you think was the most surprising thing or interesting thing you learned working inside of crypto that someone outside of crypto would never think?
It's connected. A lot of those layer ones, all layer ones, have people that know people at the C-suite level, at the VC level. And that guy that I worked with, ex-Binance tech lead, he was talking to me about, nobody really knows exactly where PancakeSwap came from or who's behind it, but he's saying, he worked with guys at Binance that literally worked on the project, right? And so there's this whole community in this. A lot of it, I'm surprised that as much of it runs through China as it does, because I spent some time in Shanghai. I lived in Beijing for a while, but spent some time in Shanghai visiting because one of my companies was there. And you would go out to like a club in Shanghai and they'd be walking around with Bitcoin signs with the bottle service girls would come out with the bottles and they'd have just big Bitcoin sign. It's like, what is this, like a crypto club? And they're like, yeah, like the guys who, brought up this club, who invested in this club, or like, also ex-finance guys, or the, from whatever project was going on at the time. But yeah, a decent amount of it still runs through China. I saw a stat the other day that the second largest hash rate for Bitcoin mining is now back to China, even though it's still regulated and still illegal in China. But they can see that the hash rate for mining is second biggest in China now, where it used to be first biggest. And then I think those are kind of the two biggest things that I started to like connect or kind of figure out. And I'm sure, it goes layers and layers deep the further you go and the more people you get to know. But yeah, just people know people, and, there's a lot going on behind the scenes that's why you trust, or you don't trust, you verify to make sure that your stuff's all end up in good. But yeah, it's a crazy world. Chinese crypto is a crazy world. A lot of it's anonymous. A lot of the teams that you see that are non-doxed or, that are just like to remain anonymous. It's kind of like Chinese style of crypto. So I kind of started to make a lot of connections there. A lot of Chinese crypto companies want to appear less Chinese because there has been incidents in the past, like scams. So a lot of them will kind of like put on like a different face, or a different face to the rest of the world, and so run by Chinese companies or Chinese coders. The labor in China is cheaper, so it's cheaper to run it out of China, especially your tech teams or product design teams, but a lot of their marketing teams are run globally. So I don't know. Those are some of my takeaways.
So there's only a small pool of actual coders and actual gatekeepers, right, and founders that are actually like back at the backbone of all of this stuff, right? To where like it's not a giant group across the world. It's like you can trace it back down to like the roots of a very small group.
I was surprised at how like correlated it was and like who knew who. So I don't know how far it goes. It's just like I've had a taste of it to know that, like, oh, this person knows this person from working here, and they, created these projects, and it branched off from here, and now it's kind of like created, a bigger, more global economy, crypto economy. But like I guess that's that's unavoidable to some extent, and I think branching out is good. There's more projects going on, more competition, more decentralization. But yeah, a lot of it does kind of like spout from some of these same fountains.
Wow, that's crazy. I remember back in the day, people were saying it was almost impossible to teach more coders, like high-end coders, because the people that could teach you made so much money coding that they would never teach.
Yeah.
And some of the coders would charge insane amount of monies for people to watch them code.
Yeah.
So like if you wanted to figure out how this guy worked, you would literally pay him some unseen amount and sit over his shoulder, and they would only do that so much a day because they just didn't like it.
Yeah.
But they would make, $600,000 being virtuosos and like slapping some good code together.
Yeah.
And then they would, what would you do if you could make $600,000 in a week?
Yeah.
You wouldn't work 52 weeks. You'd work 1 week.
Yeah.
And you would go to Bali. Or you go to Maldives and you would sit in the sun.
Yeah.
You'd enjoy life. At least I would. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the game. So Bobby Hexelrod says, play the tweet. It's a whole build out. Pretty sweet. Let's see this, if we can get that to pull up. So that's that. I don't know if I can actually open the tweet from chat. At least I'm not sure how I can, but I'll let me see if I can.
Maybe you'd have to like share screen.
Go onto my tweet. I'm going to go into my Twitter here and look up Alex and see if I can actually pull it up and share it here. Alex. Here he is. Boom. All right. Oh, this must be right here. Pulse Chain Data Center updates. Holy cow. So if I pull this up on TikTok, all right. So now let me see if I can share it so you guys can hear it, because I can never share this. I never share the
Audio is always the tricky part.
Yeah, I never turn audio on, right? Let's see here. Leave settings, present. Oh, share screen, Chrome tab. Boom. There it is. Nope. It opened this one right here in Instagram.
Yeah,
all right, now it says share audio tab. Good. Share. Let me know if you guys can hear it. We can't hear it now, but maybe that's because you guys are hearing it.
Maybe toggle the
framing for the
There we
walls
go.
done.
Let me go back.
Next is drywall for those walls. Working on tearing out all of the electrical from the building and just doing all new, nicer panels. Starting to take delivery of all of the materials to put a new roof on and new siding. Goal is to have the first nodes up by the end of the year. I haven't updated you
All right,
guys
here
on
it
the
is.
Pulse Chain data center in a while, so I thought I'd just give you guys a little tour of where we're at. Got the raised floor and the framing for the walls done. Next is drywall for those walls. Working on tearing out all of the electrical from the building and just doing all new, nicer panels. Starting to take delivery of all of the materials to put a new roof on and new siding. Goal is to have the first nodes up by the end of the year.
Cool. So there's that. Let me know if you guys could hear it or not. I always have to go off of this camera and back onto this camera to get it to unfreeze.
figured out the trick.
There we go. Yeah, so that is pretty cool. That's a whole center that he wants. Now everyone's gonna say, why does he try to get it up by the end of the year, Skylar?
Enlighten us.
Well, that's what everyone's gonna be betting on now. They'll be like, oh, what does Alex know? What does Alex know about the end of the year?
Interesting.
Yeah,
You're playing 4D chess over here.
I'm trying. I don't know, man. I misquoted it as Briz pointed out. It's the data center, not nodes. That's fine. I like him more than Chant John or Swans.
But he was saying the guy who is building that data center was saying that the goal is to get nodes up by the end of the year. So they're gonna run at least a couple nodes through that data center, right?
Right. But he's designing them for pulse nodes.
So so it's for pulse nodes. So they're kind of the same, I think.
Mm-hmm.
There's two guys in chat talking about saying it was for data centers but not nodes. But I'm pretty sure the guy in the video said it was going to be for the purpose of running nodes.
Yeah. David says I could code in Bali. What is? We got a crazy emoji there from Briss. My boy went to Area 15 down in Vegas to Megamart.
Oh, Megamart.
And
Omega.
I know that Rags is not watching this, but if you are Rags, check that out. Eat your heart out. 96-hour energy. It says boost productivity, outpace your peers, never sleep. Check out the face on that.
These puppies need some of that. They
are.
sleepy.
I can't believe that they just haven't gone to the bathroom on us yet. I appreciate it, Tank. You're a gentleman. I'm actually going to send you back with your tribe, your clan here. Say bye, everybody.
Enough.
He's
enough
the only
crypto
boy.
talk for you.
And then Aurora, say goodbye. Oh my gosh, she's so much tinier than him. She's just like
Baby Tank.
baby Tank. Say hi, guys. Oh, we finally got Tin Top saying they hear it. Good. Later, pups. Oh, good times. Yeah, so Pulse Chain, it was going to change the game more before ETH 2.0 came out because ETH 2.0 is the first layer one network that switched to proof of stake successfully so far.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They didn't fall apart or go crazy after they did that, so that's good.
It also wasn't super eventful.
Yeah, it was kind of a non-event. But at the same time, you got all these forks. There was like 8 forks that tried to stay on proof of work, right? There's ETHW, ETH Fair, or as we like to call it, ETH Welfare. And they're all like, they all want people to show up and build on their chains, but I haven't seen anything of note. Like there's no hash there. There's no nut. There's no bridges. You can go on there and make a ton of money, and trying to pull it back onto the Ethereum 2.0 chain, you lose it all. It just disintegrates in your hands, right? So I do believe that one of these forks is going to get some notoriety and some activity and movement.
Yeah.
But I think that if you have any money on that chain during the 24-25 wave, you should take it all out.
Yeah.
All of it. Because look at Ethereum Classic. Ethereum Classic had a lot going on for a while. It was traded really well for a while, and it's pretty much died out. And no one's developing on Ethereum Classic.
And it was trading well around the merge, time of the merge, you mean?
No. A lot of people accidentally bought Ethereum Classic thinking it was Ethereum, and that pumped the price for a bit. But I'm talking about like the 2017 and 2021 wave. It got a good rise, but I don't see it doing much in the future, really.
Yeah, I mean, hash rate's a good indicator, and people developing on it, and that's something that I think is something that we talked about a little bit earlier. Like, who's developing on it? Who's the team behind it? Are people still working on it? How's the community? There's a lot to it.
Yeah, because even Ethereum has almost no developers. They claim they've got this army of developers, but when you look at the people actually contributing code, there's like 5. And like you were saying, they're probably moonlighting for 6 other layer 1s at the same time because they're the only ones that understand that stuff.
Yeah. That makes sense.
ETH fees were so insane a year ago. They'll rise again in the next bull run, and we'll be so happy to have Pulse Chain, in my opinion. I hope so too. I really do. I'm looking forward to that. And then, of course, we have copies of our hex on all those forks. We're going to have copies on Pulse Chain. And then if someone forks Pulse Chain and copies Pulse Chain, we'll have forks of that one too.
Oh, funny.
So when people are making these 15-year 5555 stakes, if you want to be part of the Cuatro Cinco Club, you're probably going to have a stake on 4 or 5 chains, not just one.
Wow, that's wild. Yeah, I hadn't thought that far into it.
Yeah, crypto is the only place on earth where money literally falls out of the air into your lap. Like airdrops of real money fall into your lap, and you tell people this, and they're like, "No, that doesn't. No, it's too good to be true."
Yeah.
It's like, no, it really happens. It's crazy. Yeah. You should do it.
Yeah, you should get into it. You should educate yourself at the very least.
Yeah. So what do you think? Like, obviously, someone's got to want to learn about crypto, but have you guys has any of the people you work with been successful in creating an onboarding program that actually teaches people from zero?
No. I mean, it's just like baptism by fire, like throw somebody directly into it, hope that they get it, hope that they are willing to do their research. But I think when you're hiring, you're looking for, and me being on the back end of this, like having hired, people for various companies, crypto companies, you're looking for somebody that's like willing to be adaptable, right? So you're not expecting that somebody's going to have a lot of crypto experience. Most people don't. But if you're talking to somebody and they seem adaptable, they seem like eager to learn, challenge themselves, like that person's going to learn every single day and challenge themselves to be better. And they can learn more in the course of 6 months or a year than somebody that's been in it for a little while.
So you're looking at you're almost looking for hunger and drive versus like knowledge.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah. And, people with experience can be burned out by the experience that they have. And you just really can't expect a ton of experience in this industry, I think.
Yeah, that's crazy. So where do you think we're going to be in 2 years after the next wave? Let's say we go up and over the 24-25 wave. We're back down at 26, the first year of the next bear market. Like,
it's a great question.
Where do you think crypto is going to be?
That's a good question. I think maybe for reference, I think this time around, this bear market cycle feels different because a lot of companies are still here. Whereas, everybody got wiped out last time. I see a lot of companies still here. I still see companies still building. I see companies hiring. I'm a part of companies that are doing all those things. And I think that means that like the potential impact in the next bull cycle is just going to be potentially bigger. And I think because of that, there's a lot that we got experience with in 2020, 2021. I think with DeFi, the boom in NFTs, I think we're going to see that on sort of a new level. But it's hard predicting exactly what it's going to be. I think GameFi might have a decent shot at being sort of the next big thing after DeFi. And NFTs, I think it's going to have its shot where it booms for a while. I think NFTs are going to change to have more utility. and to kind of move away from like profile picture style NFTs to all these different use cases for NFTs. And I think as far as like prices and valuations and stuff like that's where I have the hardest time like putting my finger on what it's going to look like, I guess. What do you think?
Well, I think that everything's got to go up because of the inflation.
Yeah.
Like those dollar bills have got to go somewhere. They can't round them up and burn them. They don't burn those tokens. They're working really hard to do that CBDC thing. So I almost feel like USDC is so in bed with the government that at some point, Circle or USDC might say, okay, for the next 30 days, you can convert your USDCs into CBDCs, but you're going to have to KYC, give us your information, give your bank account, and try to like roll it out that way. Because the only difference between the CBDCs and the dollar right now, the dollar is cryptocurrency. It's just cryptocurrency controlled by banks and governments. It's already...
It's all digitized.
It's all digitized, right? So the CBDC is just a digital dollar that they can program. So they can program behaviors and things like that into it that they want their citizens to do, which is...
Why do you think China launched it first, right? Like,
yeah, that's some Black Mirror stuff right there.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing good ever comes from any of these plots, right? It's always like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
But if we're lucky, we can innovate faster than them, and we can create privacy, and we can create true stable coins
that'd be cool.
that can stand on their own weight. If we can do that, then we've got a shot. If not, it'll just be more of what it's always been, which is the gray market, the black market, and the white market, whatever you want to say, But it's crazy. It's almost like trying to figure out what the internet was going to be back in the day when it was just a couple of nerds, like sending packets and software back and forth, and they didn't even have like email that people could use or whatever. Like they hadn't even
personal email.
Yeah, they hadn't even sent out like the Netscape CDs for people to put in their computers and try to get online. Which I mean, you probably remember that because you're not that much younger than me.
Yeah,
so you remember like the dial-up modems in the house
at you and
and chat rooms and that crazy stuff.
ASL.
Yeah, we're not even to that point in crypto, I don't think.
Yeah. So how could you possibly predict where we'd be now with the internet and mobile phones and social media and technocracy that we live in now?
Technocracy. Yeah, I like that. Bristology, during PulseSac, I liquidated some positions and one swap cost me $4K. No BS. I took the hit knowing that my SAC bonus will make me whole later down the road. F ETH Clay. The ETH devs probably are working for 4 different employers, all making $300K per employer remotely.
Same code.
Sorry, boss. I'm going to take me another week to get that test done. Damn, I'm done with the ETH ecosystem, especially when they raise our S load. It was a problem to begin with. Yep. They had some weird token that was supposed to pay the gas token. So someone came out with the gas token. They said, look, if you've paid a ton in gas, we're going to give you this token for free. Right. And if you went on there, it would tell you how much you paid in fees if you put in your address and stuff. In one address alone, I paid $30,000 in ETH fees that year.
You must have had
30,000. And I just think if I could have gotten that into a coin, it would have been insane. Even after the crash, it'd still be really good money.
Yeah,
crazy. Imagine when Pulse Chain can be that with only 10 million users, and where all the projects on Pulse Chain will be. Yeah, it'll be a whole new ecosystem, an entirely new ecosystem. Because if Richard Hart and his devs pull off what they want, the efficiency that they want to and the speed that they want to, that allows GameFi. Because GameFi right now will cripple ETH and most of the blockchains. Yeah. Unless nothing else is running on that blockchain, on that layer 1, most games will just cripple it. They'll just tie it up.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what people start building on Pulse. Like, I think that'll be huge for the ecosystem. Just getting people building, different projects going on. But like the Hex community has been great about that. Launching all sorts of stuff, and I think having their own ecosystem to do it on with cheap transaction fees, low gas fees, will be great.
Awesome. Man, I can't thank you enough for coming over here. I tried to get you over here for Tech Talk on Sunday, and you'd already had your day planned out by that time.
I think I was up in the mountains or something.
Yeah, you're up in the mountains, which is it's just better than Tech Talk. Tech Talk is real deep, real nerdy. In fact, you probably like the Tech Talks the most because it's just like deep stuff.
I'll catch the next one.
I get some real big nerds on there too. So
I'd love to listen.
yeah, but thanks so much for coming and sharing your story and so much about yourself. I mean, there's really no reason for you to come and share any of this insight with anybody. I really appreciate it. And
yeah, of course.
The Hexicans are the hungriest people I know for knowledge and trying to figure out how things work and the reality of things, because there's the theory and then there's reality, right? And what a lot of us think about what goes down in a project's actual office is probably night and day different from what actually does.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, you're right. And there's some merger of Web 2 and Web 3 worlds going on right now, and companies trying to figure out how that works. But yeah, I'm happy to share what I know. I learned so much from guys like you and you know, the community even. I learned a lot today from being here. So I'm glad to be here for sure. I learned way more than I taught for sure today.
Well, thank you so much. And again, the puppies, like we didn't break 20 viewers, which I'm thinking maybe we should just go get rid of the puppies. They didn't serve their purpose.
We hit 20 for a second. I don't know if we hit 21. I'm trying to save the puppies.
I gotta save the puppies. Like, subscribe, share. See, I'm the opposite. Like Rags is like, do not like, do not subscribe. I don't need you. I'm tough. I'm cool. I'm the opposite. You show up, you get a wrench. I might send cupcakes to your house if you watch enough of my videos. Appreciate it. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Dressology, I want to be a Pulse Chain Maxi. Do you think Richard paid his devs up front and now they are all in Bali? That's funny. Yeah, no. To be honest, I bet you anything he gave them stakes. My bet is that he's given them an incentive to not only make it as good as they can, but also to be locked in the contract to make it as good long-term as possible. That's what I would think would be a good incentive for dev, is pay them up front, but then also gift them tokens and then lock some of those tokens up so that they're not obviously just going to dump.
See, this is why you're the perfect person to launch your own token.
I try. I would love to launch a really awesome token that makes honest people rich. That would be wonderful.
Heck yeah.
So, hey, JS just showing up. You'll have to rewind. I didn't get a wrench, fam. Well, guess what, homie? That's about to change. Because you, my friend. Awesome. Here you go. Boom. Chad, I want you to reach down inside your pocket and see what you find there. You've got a wrench, buddy. You've got a wrench. All right. Jazz wants a wrench, please. This is the first time I've seen you, Jazz S. You're going to have to show up to the next stream and be cool. I'll definitely wrench you then. I definitely recognize Dan Donnerschwanz because he has the strangest. Is that your? You don't have to tell me that's your real name, but I hope it's not your real name because, like I said, I feel weird saying it. Anyways, thanks for everyone showing up. You guys are awesome, and we'll just keep trucking, and I'll let you guys know what I can when I can about my token, and we'll look forward and grow together, man. LFG,
Let's
what a tool. All right, thanks, guys. See ya.
Bye, everyone.